Man, what's good, family? Hope everyone is having a blessed Sunday afternoon. We are back with another episode of the Southern Baller Show. Finally, just had said some birthdays to celebrate me and my brother's birthday and my dad's birthday back to back weeks. So just want to take time to celebrate. But we are back, man. And then of course I have my brothers coming on, or all the brothers who are able to come on. They will eventually come on. Of course, I have Coach 67 Sports TV, Mr. Southern. What's going on?
I'm blessed and highly favored. You know, I got this upcoming dental procedure on Tuesday, but all is well. Let's get it out the mud. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And JB, what's going on with you, man?
I'm going fine. How about yourself?
Can't complain at all, man.
It,
So,
it sounds like you kind of distant, JB. You got headphones on or something, bro? Like you sound a
Yeah.
little, you sound a little muffled, like you're far in the background or something.
talk again, JB.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
that's
Yeah,
perfect.
better. That's better.
All right, all right, all right. So we got to talk about what happened. So, first of all, um, so I see everybody that people that's coming to the chat. 40-ounce sniper, appreciate you, man. Coming in showing support, I appreciate you. Please make sure you hit the like button, share, subscribe. Really appreciate it. But first of all, Errol Spence Jr., man, he decided to retire last night after he decided after a 3-year layoff, fellas. And those who didn't know, um, decided to just to have Tszyu as his first fight back, which a lot of us disagreed with, excuse me, especially in the LDBC. Um, I was optimistic, but in the back of my mind, me being a lover of the boxing, I knew better. I kind of knew this was going to happen. Uh, Basically, he lost in a unanimous decision against Tszyu, which Tszyu did not impress me
No.
at all. You could just tell that Spence he ain't the same guy. He's not. He wasn't the same guy. Um, he was pushing his punches. His legs did not look under him at all, so he could not sit on his punches like he wanted to, like the Errol Spence of old, to generate that power. Um, and even though he marked up Tszyu's face, it wasn't enough to keep Tszyu away from him. So Tszyu stayed squared up in front of Errol Spence, throwing jabs, snapping his head back with those powerful jabs and those hooks. Thankfully, Errol Spence did not get knocked down. He did not get TKO'd or knocked out. And yeah, that's what happened. But I want to take this time to I want to take my hat off to Errol Spence. He had a wonderful career, amazing. He's definitely a Hall of Famer in a lot of people's book. He has nothing to be ashamed of. It's about it's that time. He, like he said after the post fight interview, he has all his faculties in order, as far as physically, and he want to keep it that way. He don't want to be. I don't mean to no disrespect. He don't want to be slurring his words like a James Tony. So, shout out to Errol Spence. J6 was good, man. I appreciate it. Great live last night. You and Big Reg. Y'all make sure y'all support those brothers' channels. Big Reg also has a channel as well. Y'all make sure y'all support. He said the truth is he lost that fire when he Bud beat it at him. I wouldn't. Yeah, he definitely took a beating, but I think, in my opinion, I think more of that was because of the car accident. The car accident took a lot out of him, and you can't, and not to take nothing away what Terrence Crawford did, but you can't come in there against a Bud Crawford and not be physically prepared and not be physically 100%. But that's another conversation. But Tszyu did not impress me. This was a shell of Errol Spence from Oak. Like, he was not the person that we knew, or the fighter that we knew when he was active. Because Errol Spence has always been the aggressive. He's always in your face, putting on the pressure. And you notice Errol was on the back foot most of the night, especially when Tszyu started to come on and put combinations together. So you couldn't even knock this dude out. This version of Errol Spence out. So yeah, it's gonna, if he try to dig into at least I'll say top 10 of that weight class, he gonna continue to be knocked out, in my opinion. One thing I do want to say that what black fighters need to do, especially the ones that are throwback, like a Deontay Wilder or Errol Spence or even Devin Haney. If you come back from a layoff, give yourself some grace. I'm gonna say it again. That's my only critique of Errol Spence. I don't knock him for trying to see if he can come back from 3-year layoff and see what he got. But I disagree. I disagree with it, but my hat go out to him. But give yourself some grace. Everybody else do it. Give themselves grace. A la Anthony Joshua. A la Tyson Fury. And both of them look bad in their fights, by the way. Hey, Anthony Joshua almost got stopped by that Christian Pringle guy in the first round.
Should have been stopped.
Should have been stopped. But give yourself some grace. I know you want to prove you the game dog or whatever. You want to prove that you a throwback, you don't duck no smoke, man. Give yourself some grace, especially if you're coming back from a long layoff. Please give yourself some grace. Okay, I'm done ranting. Wasn't even a rant, just based on my little statements on the fight. Coach, what did you think of Errol Spence's performance, and just talk about your feelings about Errol Spence and his career in general?
In fact, bro, come right back to me. I gotta take care of something real quick. I'm coming right back. Throw to JB.
All right, no problem, man. JB, I'm gonna throw that same question to you.
I think, man, it was a valiant effort, but even though the commentators was getting on my nerves, Paulie and Sean Porter, it was correct about him, about how his legs look. His legs were shaky at the beginning. And yet and still he was able to give a pretty good fight. Now, as far as not as far as what we used to him doing when he fought the Kell Brooks and the Sean Porters and the Mikey Garcias, the Danny Garcias and stuff like that. But he still led. The reason why Tim couldn't get rid of him, because even at a shell at Errol's former self, he was still a B plus fighter.
B plus B
or
minus.
B minus fighter. He was still a threat in there. That's why Tim couldn't get him out of there. Um, he was just like you said, man. You said it perfectly. The things that he was trying to work on, they was trying to get him to box more, and they probably knew that his legs wasn't going to be 100% as far as generating his power, so he can walk through people. So they try to get him to box off his back foot. That didn't work out. Once Tim kind of uh, figured out what he was doing and put his punches together, that's when Tim basically separated himself and outpointed Spence. I had it him uh, Tim winning about 2-3 rounds. I don't that wide scorecard. That's not the same fight because in some of them rounds, Spence was looking like the old Spence when he fought close. But when Tim Tszyu found out he could beat him with a jab and put some lefts and rights together, then that's when he outpointed him in the later rounds. But like I said, it was a valiant effort from Errol Spence, and he said, "Hey, if I would want him to get a tune-up, but I guess Spence say, hey man, if I can't
Now or
beat
never.
him, then I need to retire. If I
Right.
can't beat Tim Tszyu." But like you said, I wish our black fighters would give themselves some grace. Everybody else taking tune ups, 2 ups and 3 ups. You know what I'm saying? Before they big fight, and people like Deontay Wilder fighting, he had like something wrong with his shoulder. He fighting
Big
big
Bang
James
Zane.
Zane. You know
Big
what I'm
Bang
saying?
Zane.
Dudes
Yeah.
like that. You know what I'm saying? Devin Haney coming back fighting Ramirez.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That everybody say he ran all night, even though Ramirez was that dude a couple of years ago that everybody was trying to push. So whatever. But yeah, so our black fighters put themselves back in the fire too soon. They need to give themselves some grace, and it's because it's the fan base only does that to black fighters. They don't do that to any other people. As far as, well, let me take that back. They don't do that to people that they don't like. People that they do like, they'll make excuses for them, like your boy Tank Davis and
Mm.
Shakur. They allowed to
Anthony
fight
Joshua.
guys that they know they don't need to be in the ring with.
I mean,
And
my
then
lord. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, like I was like you were saying about Tyson Fury and AJ. They look terrible in they little tune ups. AJ almost got stopped. If he was in there with a more experienced fighter, he would have got stopped. You can tell old boy was unexperienced because all he had to do was push the gas on AJ. He was out of there. He let AJ play man games with him and talk to the crowd, but AJ,
I,
got his faculties together and knocked him out. So
I ain't gonna
it
lie.
is what it is.
I think it was more what 78 said last night. Man,
But
somebody said told Pringle, if you mess around, just happen to accidentally knock Anthony Joshua out, something bad gonna happen to you. So a lot of people think, a lot of the people. That's why a lot of people think that most of these fights be fixed because Anthony Joshua was hurt multiple times. All he had to do was push the issue because in the first round, after the second time he got hurt and got back up off the mat, all Pringer had to do was give him some space, like Daniel Dubois did, like Usyk did, and finish him. But it seemed like I don't know. That's why he smothered his punches at the end of
the
the first
uppercut he
round.
landed on AJ was beautiful.
It was.
He wasn't. AJ wasn't expected, but AJ got off the canvas and got the win. But I don't. But now that being said, I don't know who to pick because I
Yeah,
want to
that's
say
true.
Fury. Fury gonna. Here on the Southern Baller Show, we gonna tell the truth. We ain't gonna act like. Tyson Fury gonna get his dose. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
He
right.
gonna get a couple of doses. You know what I'm saying? Those who know. And then he gonna come back and may probably beat the shit out of Fury. Because now he know he's not gonna be that same Fury he fought against Maurice Watt. Because he did the same thing against Wilder when he fought a couple of tune-ups and he didn't look all that good. Now when he fought what's the boy who dang, I forgot his name. The dude that Derek Chisora knocked out, white dude.
Oh, Otto Waller.
That Fury. Otto Waller. Yeah. Hey, Otto Waller, and you can arguably say Otto Waller won that fight, but you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
one. Yeah.
So, I mean, Tyson Fury going to get his dose and make sure he come back and win that fight. So,
Yeah, man. And I'm reading this comment and I'm gonna go back to you, coach. Jada6 said, not gonna lie, Tim should have knocked Spence out, but he never pressed it on the pedal. All those hits behind the head that the ref blatantly ignored it, and you still couldn't get a knockdown. Facts. That's another thing. That Aussie environment. That's another thing. Um, thank you, Jada6, and then I believe 78 and other brothers mentioned it too. Um, and I believe Drew Titan. Uh, a lot of them shots behind the head he should have been docked the point. But then the referee's gonna turn around and threaten Errol Spence twice to take away a point for
low
low
blows.
blows, and they wasn't low blows.
He was pushing Errol Spence head down, and he was dipping, and then Errol would throw a body punch, and it would be, the mid range. It would be in the border of it being low, but he wasn't. Wasn't on
It wasn't
purpose.
low. Yeah, right, right. Relax and calm rain. What's going on, man? He says salute to the family. Appreciate you, man, coming by. Always supporting. Fury going to beat the brakes off AJ is he? We don't know because that Fury, unless he on his juice, that's the only way he beat AJ. Because it look like his punches
Ain't shit.
ain't shit. Like Wilder been trying to tell people, but people don't listen. Jada Bar said, "Salute family in chat. Salute J Bar. Appreciate you always supporting." Coach, same question.
Before I get into that, I'm gonna just keep it a buck. I don't like
Go
Joshua.
ahead.
I don't like Joshua neither Fury, to be honest.
Facts.
Uh Fury, we know he cheated our brother Deontay Wilder. So like I really don't bang with him. I really don't like him. I really don't rock with him whatsoever. And Anthony Joshua was flat out ducked Wilder his entire career. I mean, you could really say he should have got stopped yesterday, but it is what it is. But I don't like either one of them. All right, now in terms of Errol Spence Jr., uh, I mean he clearly wasn't the Spence from about 5 years ago. I mean even the Spence that fought Danny Garcia, you know, and we know he a no tune-up guy. He clearly should have had a tune-up or two. Definitely should have had a tune-up for Bud fight, but you know, just kind of going back and watching all the smoke with Andre Ward. First of all, well, I'm gonna get back to that. But in terms of the actual fight last night, at times he looked decent, but overall, I just kind of feel like he was a shell of the fighter that he used to be, and you know, that's kind of my biggest takeaway because y'all know me. I've never really been high on Tim Tszyu, Sebastian Fundora, the Towering Inferno. Beating back to back. So Tim Tszyu, in my humble opinion, he's never been the fighter that his dad Costa Tszyu was. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, Tim Tszyu never moved me. And the fact that, he lost to Tim Tszyu, uh, to me, first and foremost, it said, like y'all said, I think he should have took a few tune-ups. But, like he said, he's not a tune-up guy. That's one thing. Two, I felt like he should have got back with Blu-ray Fitness, Salute to Blu-ray. I think, if you look at him when he was undefeated in his career, Blu-ray was right there with him, So I felt like he should have got back with Blu-ray, and really and truly, shout out to Spence, individuals that watch my channel when I was doing boxing, him, or of course Wilder, my favorite fighter, Devin the Dream Haney number 2, Spence right there at 3, Bud 4, and Regis Prograde was 5. But even with that being said, I kind of felt like he a big what if in terms of Spence. I like the fact, like JB pointed out, man, Spence is a game dog. You know what I'm saying? Just like Wilder, he never ducked no smoke. But another valid point y'all brought up is the fact that, coming off a 3-year layoff, man, he should have went on a little bit of a bum bash, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Get his feet back right. You know what I'm saying? Get his mojo going. Because even, going into the Crawford fight, he had a long layoff. So he should have fought a tune-up before he fought Bud. And another thing, too, when I say he a big what if, I mean from the standpoint of, had he lived a boxing lifestyle, had he not had the car accident, had he stuck with Blu-ray in terms of his strength conditioning, I believe Bud would have beat him regardless. But that fight wasn't even competitive, you know what I'm saying? It got to a point where at certain points in the fight, I'm like, man, Bud is savagely beating him up. And you kind of saw it last night where, of course, like I said, he should have took a few tune-ups, but I think that the beat he took to Bud, it took a lot out of him, you know what I'm saying? And to me, he's just not the same
Yeah,
fighter.
that didn't help at all.
Yeah, not at all. So at the end
That
of
was
the day,
David Six was saying, but I think most of it was because of the car accident. But go
oh
ahead,
yeah,
coach.
I think the car accident took something out of him too, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, he one of my favorite fighters. And, I wish him well. I wish him the best in terms of life after boxing. And shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV. He showed a snippet on his channel of Ronnie Shields talking to him after the fight, and giving him advice for life after boxing. So, hopefully everything works out for him. He a Hall of Famer in my book. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I always just kind of wonder. I still think Bud would have beat him, but
He
had
a
he,
3-belt champion, coach.
yeah, he was unified. He was unified. But what I mean is, in terms of, had he lived the fighter's lifestyle, had he not had the accident, had he stuck with Blu-ray,
He
I
could have
still,
surpassed that, right?
yeah, I still think Bud beats him, but I think it would have been a competitive fight. When
Yeah,
it wasn't even competitive. Like Bud
not at all.
whitewashing like across the board, in my opinion. But salute to Spence. He the last of a dying breed. Him, Crawford, Wilder's in the twilight of his career. Let's see who he fights next. Whoever Wilder fight, I'm rocking with him either way. But in terms of the Usyk thing, we talked about it here on this channel. Like since Usyk dropped all his belts, I don't see the point in even fighting him. Salute to Big Joe. Big Joe brought that up. But in terms of last of a dying breed, the only fighter I feel that's not a duck and that want all the smoke and is willing to fight anybody is Devin the Dream Haney. And salute to Devin the Dream Haney. And even so,
Salute.
shout out to Brian Norman Jr. because Brian Norman Jr. was a man. He had testicular fortitude, and he stepped to the plate and he fought. Devin the Dream Haney. Ryan Garcia, scumbag piece of trash. Tank a duck, Keyshawn a duck, Shakur Stevenson a duck, the Mighty Ducks. All these boys
Right.
soft as cotton in my opinion. So as far as I'm concerned, Devin the Dream Haney, he the only, once Wilder hangs it up, he the only guy that want all the smoke left in the sport. And he gonna be the only guy I rock with.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big Joseph Townsend says, salute to the family. Visiting vendors today will be listening. That's all right, brother. I appreciate you always supporting. So you good, brother. Speaking of Big Joseph Townsend, if you don't know about Old Hillside Bourbon Company, it is a black-owned whiskey and bourbon company. So if you got family or if yourself like to drink or have something around the house, to get a little taste of something, just check these brothers out, man. Good product. I bought their product. My family loves it. The ones that do drink. So yeah, please support. He's a black owned business.
Hey, I don't even drink and I still rock with it, man. Y'all support the brothers, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Same here. Jada6 said when Spence coach was yelling at him, said, let's go back to the basics. I knew it was over. Yeah, because he was trying to motivate him, but yeah, it was kind of the point. Yeah, Spence ain't it ain't the same. Big Red, just talk about you, man. Just plugging your channel. Appreciate you coming by. Appreciate you always supporting, brother. Jada6 said, hey Jared, please talk about Stephen Fulton. Oh, wait, again. I was actually looking forward to that fight. Yeah. Stephen Fulton,
Come on,
goofy
cool
ass,
come on, cool.
miss again, man. You just leaving money on the table, bro.
Come on, cool boy. Man, I used
And
to rock.
I like Steve. Yeah, I used to rock with him too. Go ahead, coach. I'm sorry.
I used to rock with Cool Boy heavy, man. Man, Cool Boy. Like Denzel said in American Gangster, you're tarnishing the brain, man. You know what I'm saying?
Facts, man. Facts, man. And brother taking out time to join us, man. Big Joseph Townsend. What's going on, brother?
What's good with y'all, man? Salute to the family. Happy Sunday. What's going on? What's going on out here?
We
Man,
sit
peace
here
and blessings.
celebrating the career, man, of Errol Spence, man. It was bittersweet yesterday, man.
Yes, sir. I heard we had a shark sighting yesterday. I don't know if it was a good sighting, but we did see a shark yesterday, an old shark. We saw one.
Yeah, we saw one. We
Well,
saw.
I'm gonna say this, and this people can take this whatever, because I know this is some of y'all heroes. At least he ain't going like out like Roy Jones Jr. Roy
Hey,
Jones used to get knocked the fuck out. Like damn, Roy. Then you see me thinking Roy dead in there. He when when Tarver caught him, it was like damn. But I'm just saying, he went out like a warrior on his feet against a contender. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted him to take one tune ups, 2 ups, and 3 ups. But he said, nah, if I can't beat Tim Tszyu, I need to go sit down somewhere.
I ain't gonna lie though, JB. I gotta shoot back. I'm gonna keep it a buck. That prime Roy Jones Jr. was hell. You know what I'm saying?
It was hell. It was
You know,
hell. He probably should have retired after he went up and fought Ruiz and dropped all that weight and came down.
I agree 100%.
After he beat Tarver, he should have just said, I'm done.
Well, see, this is the thing about it. People talked about how he ducked Tarver before he went up and fought Ruiz. The thing people don't realize was when he beat Eric Harden had already beat Tarver. But Tarver had a history with him going back to when they were kids, So Tarver, was always a problem for him, But Had he fought Tarver before he went up to heavyweight, I think Tarver would have given him problems. But I think Roy would have beat him easily if you ask me.
Yeah.
Facts. But
I'm sorry,
since we
Jared.
have you, no, you good. Since we have you, Big Joe, what was your thoughts on the fight and um, just to in general the career of Errol Spence?
All right, so my opinion might be a little different than everybody else's, but I'll say this: I'm definitely an Earl Spence fan. I saw Earl Spence fight Ugas in person at Dallas Stadium. So most of y'all know I live in California. So I spent money, buy a plane ticket to go from Cali to Texas. Had to get a hotel room. I got a ticket where I sat on the floor, row 8. Dig what I'm saying? And I parked at Cowboy Stadium, which at the time was $300 for the fight. So I even got Earl Spence merchandise, all that kind of stuff. So for some folks who may not agree with what I'm going to say in a minute, I'm an Earl
You know
Spence
how we
fan.
do. Say that shit. Go ahead, Big Joe.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying I'm an Earl Spence fan, but I'm also a former athlete, so I know how an athlete thinks. So, um, Earl Spence had a great career. The fight when he went against Ugas was phenomenal, especially to see it in person. To see him fill out Cowboy Stadium, that was crazy. You dig what I'm saying? So Earl Spence has went through a lot in his career, from accidents to off the field substance abuse issues with the drinking, to not living a fighter's lifestyle, to thinking that you can turn it on and turn it off, and it's just not realistic with being an athlete. The biggest difference you see in Earl Spence is Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford may have 9,000 children, but he lives a fighter's lifestyle. He stays in the gym. He stays active. He takes care of his body. He don't drink. Earl Spence could have had Bud Crawford's career, but alcohol, the clubbing, hanging out with the wrong crowd outside of boxing, him being linked to somebody who's on trial for, the passing of Mo 3, so all those things accumulate, and it shows up on fight night. So Earl Spence has a style to where some people say it's a Mexican style. You come forward, lean forward, matador style. You just swinging. You're going to get hit. You're going to get some, but you're going to give some. That's not conducive for a long career either. That's
No,
not
it's not.
conducive to somebody who can have a 40, 50-year career like let's say like a Floyd Mayweather or Duran or something like that.
Or
That
Hopkins.
or Hopkins, that style that EJ has, you're gonna take a lot of punishment, but you may break some over the bones and break some ribs, but the later in your career, you're gonna have to adjust and you're gonna have to be able to, lengthen your career. So we all know the issues with the Bud fight. Is coming off a 3-year layoff with a new trainer. And this when the student, this is when not the student, this is when the athlete mindset come in. As an athlete, I've been there. You feel like you got it no matter what. I'm still that dude no matter who puts in front of me. Whoever puts in front of me, I'm gonna go. That mindset has been the detriment to a lot of athletes, but that's what makes them great. You dig what I'm saying? So Earl
Yes,
Spence,
sir.
he's been that dude since day one. He went to Kell Brooks' home, dog walked him and took his belt. You know what I mean? So that mindset that got him to take the belt from Kell Brooks is the same mindset that'll get him beat against a guy like Tim Tszyu. Because you feel like no matter what, as long as I show up, as long as I give 80% of just me, can't nobody touch me. But that's not realistic when it comes to the sport of boxing or like football. Football and boxing is not a sport you can turn on and turn off. You can't go more than a year without playing football, or else you're going to get super rusty. Same thing like boxing. Then you add 2 to 3 years to that. Not only do you lose your natural instincts, not only do you lose that animalistic nature that makes you that dude, you also getting a new trainer. And what everybody who knows boxing, it takes you at least 3 to 4 fights for you to acclimate to your new trainer. And Earl Spence has only had one trainer since He's been boxing from the amateurs or Olympics all the way till now. So and then you throw in the whispers of he may have some neurological issues. Hence the reason why he couldn't fight in the States. You know what I mean? Reason why he had to fight in Australia because no doctor will clear him in America because he may have some neuro issues. That's the whispers. And it wouldn't be surprised if that's true or not because EJ's the same guy who was still going to fight Manny Pacquiao with a torn retina. So, EJ is a dog, but sometimes, a dog has to learn a lesson the hard way. A dog gonna keep chasing a car until it get ran over. So a dog gonna keep jumping the fence until until something happens to it. So Errol Spence's athletic and dog nature is what led him to take this fight. Now, the difference is between Errol Spence and any other fighter is we're seeing difference between Errol Spence and any other athlete is we're seeing his decline in person. There's many of athletes who have tried to prolong their career, whether it's a Antonio Brown, Terrell Owens, or Michael Jordan, or whoever, Jerry Rice, who will still try to keep playing. But the difference is they have to go to mini camps and tryouts. You may see an ESPN ticker, hey, Terrell Owens signed with the Seahawks. He's doing tryouts and he's doing a mini camp. Then 3 weeks later, you'll see the Seahawks have cut Terrell Owens. We didn't see Terrell Owens practice. We didn't see what he looked like on the jugs, the way he looked like running routes. Only the Seahawks saw that, and then afterwards they cut him.
Right.
There's a lot of athletes who do that, who try to get back. Victor Oladipo is trying to get back into the NBA right now. So he held an open tryout for all the NBA teams to see, and even afterwards he was crying when they interviewed him because he wants to keep on playing in the league. The difference is we don't get to see the tryouts. We see Errol Spence in action in person, and we see where he's at, and he's not the same guy anymore. So you add on the age, you add on the off the ring issues, you add on the substance abuse, you add on the car accidents, you add on the 3-year layoff, you add on the new trainer. All that equals to what we saw last night. The fact that he even got in the ring and put in a valiant effort like that, you saw the old Errol Spence still try to come out. We seen that. And then I also seen the same Errol Spence that where he fought Bud Crawford to where, he was turning his back, ducking his head, doing things and just making amateur mistakes. So again, with a sport like boxing and like football, it's not something you can just take time off and come back. If a fighter doesn't fight for a year, they're like, hey, man, what you doing? Same when they're doing Devin Haney now. Oh, he fought since November. What's going on? So a year of not boxing, that's a lot already. And you add on 2 years. You're like, man, this fighter ain't fought in 2 years. Like, Andy Ruiz ain't fought in over 2+ years. So we're going to see what he look like when he get in the ring. And then now you add on 3 years, and you ain't doing no tune-ups. Tim Tszyu ain't chopped liver. Tim Tszyu ain't the best either, but he's been active. An active fighter is always going to defeat and a fighter who has not been living the fighter's lifestyle. We see it all the time. So Errol Spence had a phenomenal career, and the most important thing for him is he won out how he wanted to. He won out. He gave a valiant effort, and he did the right thing and retired. Now we'll see if he stays retired. Because what I'm hearing is Virgil Ortiz still wants to fight Errol Spence.
He need to fight, trying to get out that bullshit contract with De La Hoya and fight Boots. That's what he need to do.
That's who he need to fight Boots.
But I know EJ and Virgil will sell out Cowboy Stadium. I know that for sure. If they throw
that's
EJ,
fact. They both Dallas boys, yeah.
If they throw EJ 20-30 million, now if he fight Virgil, he probably gonna get dog walked. To be honest with you.
I'm gonna be even real. He probably gonna get stopped.
Yeah.
And
so, but
me to say.
But then also, go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, ain't no problem if he would get dog walked.
Yeah. So again, I'm an EJ fan. I got the EJ shirt with the with the
The
with the
shark.
Grim Reaper on the front knocking on Bud's door. I got all that. But
Oh
also,
yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm a former athlete, and I understand the athlete mindset. Then you throw in the male ego involved, and you get what you got last night. But the most important thing is he went through the fight. He didn't really, he didn't take a beating like he did against Bud.
Thank
But
the Lord.
he went out on his own shield. He took some, but he gave some too. But and then
Yeah, he did.
on top of everything, he's an aging fighter too. So he's well in his 30s with a 3-year layoff. It's not realistic. So what we saw with EJ is the equivalent of Tim Tebow taking 10 years off in the NFL and trying to be a tight end.
Tight end, yeah, that was hilarious right there. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Drew.
it's the same thing. So shout out to EJ. I hope you saved a lot of your money from what you said in the interviews you did. So definitely spend time with your family. I know you into soccer, maybe you can join like a men's soccer league, or they have a lot of what you call these streamer soccer leagues. I know Ocho Cinco was in one with ISO Speed and all them. That'd be cool. I know his kids are in soccer. He can definitely fully support them with that. I know he's into, his farming. There's other things that he can be into. He has a life outside of boxing, which is great. So, shout
Right.
out to EJ. Is he a Hall of Famer?
I think
I don't,
so.
huh?
I said I think so.
I don't know.
I think so.
Honestly, to me, I don't know. Because then
That's yeah.
his biggest win will be what? Kell Brook,
I say Uga.
Mikey,
Mikey
Mike
Garcia.
Garcia, and Ugas.
Mm-hmm.
How
Sean
many?
Porter.
Sean Porter. Okay, how many Hall of Famers are in there? Were only unified, and that was it. He only fought at 147. He's not a
Rocky,
multi-division weight champion.
Rocky Balboa. Yeah.
I know. I'm just saying.
Facts.
I'm just telling you what they gonna say.
And
So
I know what you're saying. If it was a difficult Hall of Fame the way the NFL used to be to get in there, I would agree with you. But hell, if you got Rocky Balboa in the Hall of Fame, man, he in
yeah,
it.
right. But Devin Haney going to a Hall of Fame. But Devin Haney's undisputed, and he's a 3 division weight champion. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Devin Haney's in there, but to be honest, Devin Haney is more accomplished than Earl Spence to a degree. So,
No, that's not too far fetched at all.
but is EJ Hall of Famer? That's not up to me. I just think that, he was unified at 147. He had the 3 belts. He fought, Bud, and that's what happened with Bud. So but I think EJ would have had Bud's career if he would have just stayed consistent and lived a fighter's lifestyle, but as a man, you make your decisions, and then you have to, you have to live with the decisions that you make and the consequences. So hopefully, what I'm hearing about his health, hopefully all those things get taken care of. Hopefully, because we know boxing, they don't really have pensions and health care and stuff like that. So hopefully, he can get the help that he needs to continue living a healthy life and be there for his kids, because boxing is nothing to play with. And we literally all just seen what happened to Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's going to happen to EJ, but when fighters leave their sports, these are sports who don't pay for their insurance. They have to pay for their insurance out of pocket. And none of this is in. And insurance ain't cheap, and insurance companies doesn't cover everything. Especially if you need certain help and have certain ailments. So, as somebody again who was an athlete who got friends who are in the NFL and in the NBA or whatnot, I know the NBA has lifelong medical. The NFL doesn't. The damn sure ain't none in boxing. So,
Mhm.
you know what I mean. So that's why Wilder was talking about getting a fighters union and whatnot. It's hence the reason why Francis Ngannou left the UFC, because on his new contract he says we all should have medical insurance, and I want a pay raise and I want medical insurance. And Dana White said no, which is why he left. That's why he left and fought Tyson Fury for whatever 10, 20, $30 million. So shout out to EJ. Be there for your family, bro. And good luck to you outside of the sport. I know
Yes,
he's.
sir.
I know Frank Martin is still his fighter. So I don't know if that's. I don't. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I believe it is. But if that's your fighter, promote your fighter, and and be there for him.
Facts. Facts. Memphis man Anthony Bolton, salute, brother. What's going on? And one of my HBCU fanatics family in here. Appreciate you, Franklin. He said, "What up, guys?" And then he says Errol Spence wasn't moving his head. No, he was not. At some point, he was trying, but like we discussed earlier before you got on here, Franklin, that his feet wasn't there, man. His legs wasn't there. And Errol Spence drank too much. Yeah, yeah, he did. But yeah, good stuff, fellas. Good stuff. Before I move on from the Errol Spence topic, is there anything else y'all brothers want to share or feel like you have missed?
Well, I'll just speak on Cooper real quick.
Yes.
Unless you're gonna talk about it a little later.
Oh, we already brought it up. Go ahead.
Okay. Ever since he lost to old boy, what's his name?
Anyway.
Monster Inoue.
Well, you can't be no 120 nothing. Call yourself a monster. I'll tell you that right now. So, but anyway, I'm gonna call him in the way because he in the way. But after that, bro, not only has he not made weight not once but twice, right? He missed weight twice, right?
Yes.
I believe he. I believe So the issue is now Kubo gonna run into. No promoter is gonna trust you to not only put you on a card, but even have you headline a card. Not making weight is super unprofessional. And the fighter that you were going up against, he spent his whole training camp to fight you, and you show up 6 to 9 pounds overweight. You don't. So that shows a lack of respect for the sport. That shows a lack of respect for the opponent. That shows a lack of respect for your team. Because you not making weight means that you wasted all your coaches, and all your trainers' time, and now they can't get paid because you ain't do what you supposed to do. So not only are you jeopardizing your livelihood, but your trainers and your coaches' livelihood. The other guy's still gonna get paid because he made weight. Your team is not. You all the way in Australia. That ain't cheap. Flying to Australia is not cheap. Buying your own food and doing that, ain't none of that cheap. So you just spent all this money and wasted all your coach's time for nothing. Now, when you want to try to fight later on, ain't no promoter gonna trust you. Ain't nobody gonna want you to headline. We might not hear from you ever again. If we do hear from you ever again, you might be on the kick stream with Keyshawn Davis, or you might be on some lower rank card or nobody's ever heard of. Might be called chicken soup boxing. And they're gonna throw you maybe 20, 30,000 or whatever for you to be on their card. That's where you're at right now. Can't nobody trust you if you can't make weight.
Nope.
Can't nobody trust you. I can't put my money up on you because you can't make weight. You're not disciplined enough. You're not disciplined enough to feed your family and feed your team. That means you're selfish.
Yes.
So if I'm his coach, why would I keep training him? Because now you wasted my time. And best believe you, if it was any other sport, we see what happened to Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons ain't around no more. Nope. They're only gonna play with you for so long. They don't matter how good you is. If you over here not doing what you're supposed to do, they will get rid of you. They can find another Stephen Fulton. Boy, you ain't that special. You know what I mean? So hey, it's unfortunate. I just feel sorry for his team if they didn't wasted their time, not once but twice. On somebody who don't. So you telling me you too cool to train? Is that what you saying? You too cool to train? You too cool to be a professional? Everybody want to talk about business and handling and running business. Well, making weight is your business. And if you can't make weight, you can't get in the ring and you can't get paid. And that's not a team problem. That's your problem because you know how to make weight and you know how to stay in shape. Earl Spence
Nasty
done
work.
Earl Spence done flipped his car and done this and done that, but guess what? He always made weight on the scale.
By 7 pounds, yo. Nasty
Yeah,
work. Disgusting. Come on, brother.
that boy got second and thirds.
Enforce. But yeah, man, that is so disappointing, cool boy. But moving on. LeBron James is now a Philadelphia 76er. So he's over there with Jaylen Brown and Joel Embiid and VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. So did not see it coming. I thought he was going to reunite with Miami, but I was
Or
wrong.
Cleveland.
Or Cleveland or something like that. Virtual football, Baller, how you doing, brother? Appreciate you coming by. What's happening, fellas? Happy Sunday. But
What's up, VF?
real Philly fans don't want LeBron. Yeah. And there are people trying to be optimistic about it. But you know who I'm going to go to first. I'm going to go to our NBA head of basketball head on the panel, coach. He's actually a basketball coach. What would you think? What's your thoughts on this move?
I'm not surprised by it. In terms of him potentially going to Big Joe's team, the Golden State Warriors. Had he joined the Golden State Warriors, you just would have an old team. You would have him, Steph, Draymond, Porzingis, Buddy Hield. You just would have an older team. So I didn't see him going to Golden State like many people thought. I didn't see him going to Miami. You would have him, Bam, and the Greek Freak. And truthfully, they just don't have a shooting on that team yet. So I felt like that would have been a bad fit also. Also in terms of the Cleveland Cavaliers, he said part of the reason why he didn't want to go to Cleveland is because James Harden is a ball dominant player, ball dominant guard. In the backcourt you got Donovan Mitchell and James Harden in the same backcourt. I don't know where he would fit on that particular team. Once you look at Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, I really think instead of playing through Harden and Mitchell, I think they really should be playing through Evan Mobley from inside out. But that's my opinion. I think had they played through Evan Mobley, they probably could have. I don't think they would have beat the Knicks, but I think they could have sent it to 7. But instead, you trying to be a guard dominant team with all those athletic wing players that the Knicks have. That was a bad recipe for the Cavs. So I didn't see him going to the Cavs. I'm not surprised he went to the 76ers. To me, this kind of ends this ongoing debate, this GOAT debate. Me personally, I think at best he's third behind Jordan and Kobe. To me, it seems like, if you look at the first decision where he left Cleveland and he went to Miami, then he left Miami, he went back to Cleveland, then he left Cleveland and he went to LA. Now he left LA and he's going to Philadelphia. To me, I think his entire career, I think LeBron has somewhat been a ring chaser. It's one thing to have a general manager generated super team, but when you have a player generated super team, that's an entirely different story. At the end of the day, more power to him for taking a 2-year, $8 million deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. But at the end of the day, I think this kind of officially ends the GOAT debate, in my humble opinion. And in addition to that, I think everything is contingent on if Joel Embiid could stay healthy. We know Jalen Brown is a dog. Tyrese Maxey a dog. VJ Edgecombe is a emerging player. And, more than likely, Brown is going to play the 4 spot. So, you would have Maxey and Edgecombe in the backcourt. Put Jalen Brown at 3, Brown at the 4, Embiid at the 5. We'll see how things work out. From what I'm understanding, they may be potentially in the market to get a shooter like Klay Thompson, to add to the fold. But at the end of the day, that was his decision. He said it's going to be the last decision. We'll see how that plays out. But more than anything, I think the success of this particular team, even though they got a bunch of dogs, especially with adding Jalen Brown, the 76ers pretty much stole Jalen Brown from the Celtics. The Celtics, that was a sucker move. You're going to trade Jalen Brown in conference, and you're going to get Paul George in return. If it's still been a prime Paul George, I say, all right, that's almost an even swap. But in this context, I think you'd have been better off, even though, I'm biased and it's a conflict of interest. I think you'd have been better off trading to the Pelicans for Trey Murphy and whatever package the Pelicans could have gave you. At least you wouldn't have traded him within the same division. But at the end of the day, I think it's contingent.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think this trade, when you look at the Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown trade and them getting LeBron in free agency, I think the 76er team, in terms of their success or failure, I think it's going to be highly contingent on how healthy can Joel Embiid stay. I think if he stays healthy, Miami, they're too many pieces away to me to really be competitive. Of course, you got the Indiana Pacers in terms of Tyrese Halliburton coming back. I'm sure he's still going to be shaky a little while. The Celtics, they gave up Jalen Brown. The New York Knicks, they're going to try to repeat, but it's going to be difficult without having Mitchell Robinson as your backup center. He left and he went to the Celtics. So at the end of the day, the Eastern Conference, and of course, Kawhi Leonard traded from the Clippers to back to the Toronto Raptors. So at the end of the day, it's going to be interesting how this upcoming NBA season shapes up, especially in the Eastern Conference. But overall, things are extremely interesting in the East.
Yeah, they do got a good squad. And LeBron, he still can score, but he ain't,
No,
Um,
I think for this particular team, I think his best role gonna be like a point forward type position where, you can have, you know, Tyrese Maxey and Jalen Brown be like your leading scorers. Like I said,
right.
VJ is emerging, and then of course Embiid. I'm not gonna lie, Embiid is kind of like a black hole. Once you throw the ball into him, he not really giving up the rock. But it's hard to double him, when he played at the mid post. He ain't like post players years past, like when I was growing up, like Shaq and Elijah Wan and those type of cats. They wanted the ball on the low block. MB want the ball more at the mid post. It's a little bit different. But at the end of the day, I guess in his mind, it's harder to double him from that position. But once he gets the ball, Embiid is not really looking to give it up. So I think the best role for LeBron is more of a point forward type of role.
Okay. All right. Good points, Coach. I'm glad I went to you first. There's a reason why I went to you first. I would definitely want to hear your opinion on this. Jada6 said, as NBA fan, seeing Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jalen Brown in the 10 games Embiid is going to play with LeBron is going to be fire. As a Lakers fan, I hope we target Bron and Embiid's knees on defense. Desmond, Allen, and what's up, Desmond? Appreciate you,
Man,
man, coming by.
salute to Desmond Allen. Salute to my brother. You did.
Yes, sir. He said none of y'all bet not say this guy the GOAT. Salute, fan.
I done already said that this kind of ends the GOAT debate, my humble opinion.
Franklin said, Coach, Philadelphia has two guys that was in the top 5 in scoring last year. And Franklin said, I believe this has ruined LeBron legacy. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm definitely 100% agreement. But that's the reason why I said I think he's better as a point forward because, I mean, just think about it. You got Maxey, you got Edgecombe, you got Jalen Brown. Man, hey, it's not enough basketballs to go around for LeBron to try to be a scorer, you know.
Mm-hmm. Jared011 said the rookie guard in Philadelphia going to be fired off the bench. And Franklin was agreeing with you, Coach. Franklin said the rookie guard for Philadelphia had a good summer league game. And Jared011 said LeBron is going to be that at the YMCA, just finding people on offense, shooting the open three, and guard the fastest, the slowest player on defense. Okay. I'm saying Big Joe for last. JB, I know you like me. You're an admirer of NBA basketball, but not an aficionado like that. But what's your opinion on LeBron being signed with the 76ers?
Well, first of all, I agree with Coach and the brothers in the chat. This ends the goat talk. LeBron over here chasing rings, man. And I think he picked the right squad because even though you know, past 5 years I wasn't in the NBA like that into the playoffs. I did play close to contention, especially when my Detroit Pistons start winning again and be competitive these last 2 years.
And
And
that's why you wasn't into it the last 5 years, man.
yeah. But
Go ahead, man.
but yeah, we need. I was wanting them to get LeBron. We needed somebody on off, somebody to produce offensive points. 'Cause that's we good on defense. But anyway, uh, speaking of that, this is more of a playoff signing. Let me explain. Looking at the 76ers, they struggled in bench points. Um, they had a pretty good starting lineup with Maxey and B when he's healthy, and the other brother, some other
It's
pieces,
Cone
Edgecombe, there you
and
go,
Maxie.
and Maxey, but they couldn't produce points off the bench. LeBron coming off the bench still give you 20, 25. When he was especially looking at the Lakers, he not he not the defensive player he used to be. He barely played defense, but he didn't play bad as defense like the other two, like
Luca,
Luca and the other white dude on the Lakers.
Austin Reeves.
It's Austin Reeves. So he's not bad defensively. He's not the same defensive player like he was in Miami and Cleveland in earlier years. But he's not garbage. Um, like Coach said, don't ask him to play. Well, the brother in the chat said, don't ask him to guard the best player on the team, especially somebody that got speed. Um, this is just to get them over the hump in the playoffs. Somebody they can bring off the bench that everything won't fall apart when they rest Maxey and now they got Jalen Brown. You know what I'm saying? You can see him in the starter lineup some games, and then he goes sit the bench. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is just a, a bench piece. It's a very good bench piece because LeBron, even at his age, still gives you 20 to 25 points per game.
I,
Okay.
I agree with you from the standpoint of, this is more of a, yeah, you definitely want him for the playoffs. He's not going to play in back to backs. And like you said, he a liability defensively. LeBron ain't coming off the bench.
Right.
It ain't gonna happen, bro. They're gonna start him at the
I
4th spot.
mean, he was in LA.
Well, I mean, he ain't coming off the bench. I'll be willing to bet dollars to donuts on that one. Truthfully speaking, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, like you said, the playoff experience component of it, he definitely helps them greatly in that area. But I still think when it comes to that, I think the biggest component of it is Joel Embiid. But in terms of him coming off the bench, bro.
Yeah, man, he's not playing all them hours, minutes like he did in his early years. I
I know
think that's why
he not.
the Lakers tried to sign all them people, but they didn't attend for AR and Luca to be so bad on defense. You know what I'm saying? So they had to play him more. But I think with him going on a young Philly team, I think he can rest more and then bring him off the bench in crucial game situations because Philly lost a lot of those games in the playoffs because they didn't have anybody come off the bench,
What I
especially
think.
when Maxey or Edgecombe wasn't playing well.
I think when Embiid wasn't healthy more than anything, I think that's the thing that really cost him that Knicks series because you got to realize he got hurt at the end of that Celtics series in the playoffs. So
Yeah,
had he been healthy, I think Cat would have had problems with Embiid. So I think that's it more than anything. I mean, you're right. He's not
yeah,
minutes because he older. I wouldn't expect him to play 30 plus, like high 30, 40, the low 40s, like, like a Iverson or even when he was in his younger days. But at the end of the day, uh, if you met crucial minutes down the stretch in playoff caliber games, you put the ball in his hand and let it be a point forward, cool. But if you're talking about him just flat out coming off the bench, nah. I mean, of course, like you right, they're a younger team. Like I said, he's not gonna play no back to backs. I can tell you that now. And there's gonna be a lot of load management. But him not starting, nah, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, he's still
yeah.
and
That
like
was
Jada 6 put Dean Wade, they new signing ain't gonna start with LeBron. So coach got a point. I see where he coming
Man,
from.
I'm trying to tell you, they gonna put him in the starting lineup, and then 15 minutes within the game, they're gonna sit his ass down, and
Yeah,
then let the young boys play.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. He in this context, he's more of a rotational player, and he not gonna log heavy minutes. We understand that because he's in a twilight of his career. I understand that component of it. Uh, but
Right.
but you could say that with pretty much every team. I mean, is from a coaching standpoint, you have your rotation. You know what I'm saying? Certain guys come out, certain guys come in. This, that, and the third. I mean, it. I mean, for the exception of maybe having an elite level college team, you don't have like platoon swaps anyway. So you're gonna be in a coach gonna have a certain rotation regardless. So I understand what you say. You make a valid point from that component of it. And
Right, and to that point, because I don't want to forget this point. LeBron wasn't just any other player. He was playing 40 minutes per game when he was with. He was playing a lot of minutes early in his career. Now, just like you said, he's like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna have to share some minutes, but continue.
no, I just was saying I was agreeing with certain components of what you were saying in terms of a coach's rotation.
Right.
All right. First time we seen you here, LeGlaze Productions. He said, "Where the Bron fans at? They somewhere. um, they probably listening. Maybe you could be a LeBron fan. I don't know with your picture, but welcome to the Southern Baller Show. So, uh, Jada 6 said, looking at their roster, Johnny Broom isn't ready to start, and Jabari Walker and Trendon Walford can't stretch the floor. So, I mean, that's two coaches' point right there. Okay, Big Joe, I'm sorry for us being long winded. What is your opinion on LeBron James being signed with the 76ers?
I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. I always envisioned it would be between either Miami or Philly. As a Golden State Warriors fan, if they wasn't going to get Anthony Davis, there was no way LeBron was going to come to the Warriors with, especially with our roster we have now, we have an Asian Steph Curry. He only has maybe, 3 or 4 years left in his prime. Draymond Green is Draymond Green. So, we don't have the kind of roster that would entice LeBron to come over here besides his him willing and wanting to play with Steph Curry. Miami wasn't going to work because they don't have any shooters. They have pretty much, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, you got Bam Adebayo, pretty much it. You know what I mean? So, and those are both great players. But if the Heat would have signed maybe like a Klay Thompson, then it might have enticed him to go there, a la when he was with the Heat. They had Ray Allen as a shooter, or they had the forgot the white boy who was a shooter. I forgot his name. He's blank. I see him, but I can't think of his name.
Mike Miller.
Huh?
Mike Miller.
Mike Miller. There you go. Yeah, Mike Miller. So then the only other best option would be to go to the Sixers, where you have a Jaylen Brown. Where you have a Jaylen Brown who is he's a former world champion. He knows how to win. He knows how to get to the next stage. You have a bunch of young guys who will play defense, who are young and willing to learn. And then you have your super injury prone, Joel Embiid, who is similar to Anthony Davis when it comes to availability. So LeBron's like, well, if I'm going to go somewhere, it makes sense for him to go to the Sixers because right now LeBron looking for challenges. So his challenges now was almost like going to organizations and bringing a championship to an organization who used to be prominent at some point or looking to complete a task. Like when he left to Cleveland to go to Miami, he was looking how to be a champion, which is why he played with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. He won 2 rings there. He learned how to overachieve and be a champion. He came back to Cleveland, won for Cleveland. Hey, Cleveland, this is for you. So he brought Cleveland a championship when they never had one. They went from burning his jersey to now, the prodigal son has returned and brought us a chip. And then he went to the Lakers. When he went to the Lakers, this is after Kobe Bryant. They were not making the playoffs. They were in the dumps. They were a terrible team. He went there, won a championship for them. That's another task he completed. You have a legacy team in the Lakers, and you brought him back to prominence by them winning the ring. And then now, him going to the Sixers, another prominent franchise, she's to win championships, in the days of Charles Barkley, Julius Erving, and whatnot. He goes there and win the ring. In his mind, and from the whispers that I'm hearing, that'll be a big tip on his cap as far as in his idea, in his mind of cementing his legacy as one of the GOATs. Again, his mind and his legacy. That's what I'm hearing behind the scenes. One of his choices was going there because of the roster they have and also trying to bring a championship to the 76ers. That's what I'm hearing. So LeBron gave the Lakers a lot of minutes. He averaged 20 plus points. He played more than he had to because Luka Doncic got injured. So LeBron has something left in the tank. Do I see him playing 40 minutes a night? Probably not.
No.
Is he good? Is he good with a 20-25? For sure.
Yes, sir.
Which will help him prolong during the season. To me, it all comes down to Joel Embiid. Because now you're playing in a league in the East where the champions are the Knicks, and you have Cat. If you have nobody who can stop Cat, nobody who can get on the boards, it don't matter. LeBron is not going to get you 12 to 15 rebounds a night. Jaylen Brown ain't going to do that. You know what I mean? You need a big guy like Joel Embiid, but he will. You can bet your bottom dollar he's going to be hurt. He's going to be hurt during the season and the playoffs. It is what it is. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. Is water wet? Embiid going to be hurt. So, but he's he only 2 years, $8 million. Maybe we'll see if the Sixers make some roster moves during the season. We're going to see. Sometimes, those mid-season changes, can help your team out, but then also you have chemistry. LeBron never played with them before. Everybody's new. Jaylen Brown's new. LeBron's new. Embiid's going to learn how to play with Jaylen Brown and LeBron. All the young guys, they still admonish LeBron, and they're still going to learn from him and still almost take a step back when it comes to him to a degree. So we wanted to see how that meshes because we've seen LeBron go to the Heat. We all seen that we're not going to win 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 championships when they only won 2. Just throwing a team together doesn't mean it's going to work. We've seen that with the Nets. The Nets did that with Kyrie Irving and KD, and none of that worked out.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it when they did it in Houston, and none of that worked out. So just because you throw some big guys in there, don't mean it's going to work. But it'll be interesting to see. This is definitely LeBron's last couple of years, and then after that, he's gonna ride off into the sunset. We're gonna see, but I'm not surprised by the move because he's looking for a challenge, and his challenge now is bringing the championship to the Sixers. So that's where he's at. Now, do I think LeBron is the GOAT? I'm a little more different than everybody else. To me, I think Will Chamberlain or Bill Russell's the GOAT. That's just my opinion. So
See, people don't want to talk about that. That's that OG NBA history right there. People,
you know what I mean. So I'm like Will Chamberlain. Bill Russell. Bill Russell has a ring as a player and a coach. He was playing and coaching at the same time and won a ring. Now the excuse is gonna be, oh well, who were they playing against? Somebody can't help when they was born. I mean, nobody can't help that they were born in the 1930s, 1940s. Like Jordan can't help when he was born, but Jordan had to watch somebody for him to be great. He watched Julius Erving. That's why if you ask Michael Jordan, does he think he's the GOAT? He says he don't get into all that because they're disrespectful to the OGs that came before him. That's what Michael Jordan said. Now, I grew up in the Michael Jordan era. I've seen Michael Jordan play. He is easily, the GOAT to a lot of people's eyes, and you can make a case that he is the GOAT. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he's not, but I feel like guys like Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain don't get enough love as for their reasoning for being a GOAT as well. But
the man got 11 rings, y'all.
Yeah. To me, I don't say one player is the GOAT. I think certain players have errors to where they were the GOAT. For a 10, 15-year period, he was the GOAT, he was the GOAT, he was the GOAT. That's kind of how I look at it. Because these kind of guys, they birth players who we have now. If it wasn't for like a guy like Julius Erving, we wouldn't have Michael Jordan. One for Michael Jordan, we wouldn't have a Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or guys like that. So, you know what I mean? So, and then now like Steph Curry is bringing along a new generation of guys where they only want to shoot threes. You know what I mean? So, but as far as LeBron going to Philly, we gonna see. But LeBron will give you about a good 20, 30 minutes, but he's trying to, some say he's ring chasing, which I understand, but in his quest or his challenge for him to keep playing, he's trying to bring a ring to Philly. That's going to be his chant. That's going to be his, what they call his statement. So we going to see.
Just real quick, Jared, just to kind of piggyback off what some of the things Big Joe was saying, from a coach's standpoint, Golden State winning the championship was like the worst thing that happened for me as a coach, because I had players that constantly wanted to jack up threes, and they didn't have Steph Curry nor Klay Thompson's genetics, and not only that, they didn't have the skill set, and they just they wanted to constantly jack up threes, and it was a nightmare for me as a coach. So let me throw that out there. But in terms of the GOAT debate, that could be a whole show unto itself.
Yes, sir.
The GOAT debate, when wing players like Jordan, like Kobe, like LeBron, and then you add in bigs like Kareem and Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, is nuanced from the standpoint of, if you got a big like Wilt, he needs guards and wing players to get in the ball. Whereas, of course, you got to pass the ball to Jordan too, but Jordan could advance the ball himself, bring it up, and he get in scoring position on his own. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when you compare bigs and wings in this GOAT debate, is a nuanced conversation. But I definitely agree with a lot of what Big Joe was saying, though.
Yes, sir. And Anthony Bolton said Bill Russell played against Jim Crow. That means something to me, point blank. Facts. Desmond Allen said, and his two goats, of course, it's his opinion, is Kareem and Michael are the goat.
I mean, even Kareem. I mean, Kareem won as many MVPs as Jordan. In addition to that, he won at a high level on a college level, high school level. So high school, college, NBA. Won championships for two different franchises. So at the end of the day, I mean, Kareem. If we having this GOAT debate, Kareem has to be pretty high up in it. But like I say, it's nuanced from the standpoint of when you compare bigs to wings.
Facts. But yeah, this was surprising to me, but then again, it wasn't. As far as I knew he was going to get with a team, but I didn't see the 76ers. So I thought that was interesting. But before I move on to the next topic, do any of y'all brothers want to cook on something else regarding this topic?
It's cooked.
All right. Let's get into it. So, following the termination of other brothers like Cam Newton, what's the other brother? I'm blanking on his name. Oh, I'm mad at myself. I can't. He's been on ESPN for years before Ryan Clark.
Charles Davis.
Thank you, JB. He got turned.
Bart Scott.
Bart Scott got turned, and probably a few more that I can't think of. But Ryan Clark made it public on his show, The Pivot Podcast, with Channing Crowder and Fred Taylor. Basically, that he very much feels like the reason why he was termed or fired is because he was too black. I'm ad-libbing. That's not what he said, but I'm getting to the point. And I agree, but then we got to have a conversation because there's a lot of black people on the internet will try to make it out like to be, well, you had points where it seemed like you was toting that line where you kind of Sambo and cooning, and then you had the actual coons or the Sambos that say, oh, you crying about racism. Don't cry now because you lost your job. I'll call bullshit because we all look. If you work right now at a company, white supremacy is there because 9 times out of 10, it's owned by a white power structure or somebody white owned company. 9 times out of 10. Now, if you work something black owned, excuse me, but those who work at 9 to 5, you know what I'm talking about. So what am I saying? What's my point? There's guidelines and codes you have to follow, and there's things you have to do to play, as someone put it, play nice in the sandbox for you to coexist at these jobs. And we all had to deal with it. Now, once we get too black, meaning we start voicing our opinion, and it's happened to me. I have got fired. No. I'm lying. I have had to resign from a job because something wasn't addressed racially. We've all have been there, and even if you don't agree with Ryan Clark's what he said, his statements in the past or whatever, what was done to these brothers was bullshit. Okay, that's the point. That's the point. All right. Nothing else. That's why, as black people, and a lot of us are, you've been saying it, Big Joe, Coach been saying it, JB, and other folks, and other people from with podcasts or shows on social media that that want to see black folk improve and do better for themselves. Have said in the past that this is why we have to pour into our own stuff. So things like this will happen. So I understand Ryan Clark was hurt, and we've all been there. But in my opinion, the Pivot Podcast, he's sitting on a gold mine if he continues to pour into it and whatever, and just continue to be himself and not being a breaker coon. It's going to continue to grow bigger than it is already. Some of y'all might disagree, but this is my opinion. But we're here to have the conversations. That's why I have this show. Big Joe, what was your opinion on the mass firing of mostly they were black color commentators or reporters? What was your opinion on this, man? And if you're talking, you're on mute, Big Joe. We can't hear you, Big Joe. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Big Joe might need to go out and come back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then I'm gonna go to you, Coach. What was your opinion on this, man?
For those individuals that don't know, we have our own collective group chat. Jared, JB, the brother Brent Fox, Big Joe, myself, and other LDBC family members, Cadillac Red, Growing with Soul, Jay Good. And, it's our own group chat. And for the most part, this particular conversation, we've been having this conversation behind the scenes before, before bringing it to you in this particular live stream. And some of the key takeaway points that we had, first of all, like, they got rid of all of these black people just to give a kicker. You hear me? We're not talking about a defensive back, that's Pro Bowl caliber defensive back that won, Super Bowl, won an NFL championship. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they laying off all of these black people. Of course, they never laid off Stephen A. Smith, who's synonymous for being a buck dancing, boot licking, Sambo, a coon, a buffoon. You notice they didn't lay him off now. They didn't lay him off whatsoever. But you laid off all these black analysts. I'm talking about guys that actually played in the NFL, made deep playoff runs, played in the NFL for years for a doggone kicker. So you give a kicker a bag. So at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, like, when you own your own, Big Joe, he was one of the people that really pointed out in our group chat, that's why it's imperative as black people that we really subscribe to black entrepreneurship. We have our own, we support one another, just like with him and Old Hillside Bourbon Company. Because at the end of the day, if you have your own stuff, then, you don't have to worry about them. And, Jerry brought up a valid point earlier, even though I'm in the field of education, being in the field of education, even though it's not corporate America or whatever the case may be, you still have a white supremacist structure on it, and there's this content creator here online. His name is Cool Colas. He kind of addresses, being a black person, on a job at a predominantly white, you know, company. And I've experienced the same thing, at two different schools where, I was one of only a few blacks working at the entire school. And for all intents and purposes, hey, at the end of the school year, they don't want you to come back next school year. You understand what I'm saying? So, whether you work for ESPN, whether you work a corporate job, whether you work in the school system, you always have to deal with the white power structure on your job. No questions about it. So somebody like you said, like somebody like Ryan Clark, he has the Pivot podcast. Cam Newton has 4th and 1. And the thing about it is, at some point, even Ryan Clark, Cam Newton is guilty of it also. When you work for, a corporate entity like ESPN, for all intents and purposes, old media, you kind of somewhat, to a certain degree, like, like on the movie Brown Sugar, you know, punk out and sell out to a certain degree, and kind of shuck and jive on the job. You can't go to work every day, especially if you work, for a corporate entity like ESPN, which for all intents and purposes is old media to me. And I think, outside of maybe, a couple of HBCU games here and there, or whatever the case may be, for all intents and purposes, ESPN is useless and pointless to me, whether we talking about First Take or whatever. If you took away their sports coverage, like college football or, NBA coverage, or whatever the case may be, if you took that away, I would have no need for ESPN. And that's the honest to God truth. But they do cover, the NBA. They're the quote unquote world leader of sports. You got college football coverage. But if you took away, the actual sports coverage they have, I wouldn't have any use for ESPN. I hadn't watched First Take in years, hadn't watched the Get Up in years. And for all intents and purposes, it's clearly how I'm gonna say this. I won't use the right verbiage and I won't phrase this correctly. For all intents and purposes, they have a certain way of going about things, certain way of doing things. And at the end of the day, I don't agree with most of what he said, but Corey Holcomb kind of talked about Ryan Clark. And basically he was saying a huge reason why they got rid of him is kind of at the end of the day, he is too black. He's not like Stephen A. Smith, who's constantly Mr. Bojangles and shucking and jiving, blackface constantly, not in a literal sense, but figuratively speaking. So at the end of the day, it's imperative that we push black entrepreneurship. We support black companies, even with the whole Rick Charles situation in South Carolina, where he murdered this young black boy. And, you got an Asian person getting online and basically saying, hey, we dare you to boycott. And, you talk about the wealth transfer, how black people all across the country no longer support Asian businesses, myself being one of them. There's like an Asian donut shop where I'm currently located. In addition to that, like there's a couple, Asian nail shops that family members of mine saying, hey, we no longer going to these Asian nail shops. We not going to Asian shops to, get hair care products or whatever the case may be. We not going to these Chinese restaurants, and getting seafood or whatever the case may be. So this boycott of Asian businesses and, trying to support black businesses, it's working, though, these movements work when everybody is on board and everybody is on one accord. And I think the kind of same thing needs to happen for ESPN, and we really need to support like the Pivot podcast and more, you know, content creators. Because even somebody like Ryan Clark, you know, if you don't have any financial issues, because from what I'm understanding, you know, he saved a great deal of his money during his playing career. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I know you build a bond, you build a rapport with people when you work at a company, so on and so forth. But you got the Pivot Podcast. You have, you know, you're rich, you're famous, you have a high degree of visibility. You know, in 2026, you don't need a corporate structure like ESPN. You know, you got the Pivot Podcast, even if on the side, you know, because you was doing the Pivot Podcast separate at ESPN, even if you want to fill that time void when you was actually working at ESPN, you know, you could do your own thing on the side because you are, you know, like I said, you're rich, you're famous, you have the money if you want, like, you know, dumping in the, you know, a podcast studio setup type deal. So at the end of the day, man, you don't need ESPN. So the whole him crying about being laid off, and like you said, he wasn't laid off, he was fired. You know, it was kind of baffling to me because I'm like, dude, you know, you don't need ESPN. You know, if anything, in my humble opinion, you know, they need people like you more than they need, you know, Stephen A. Smith. So at the end of the day, uh, I think it's gonna work out for him in the best. You know, it's gonna work out in his favor. And y'all already know me. Y'all know how I rock. Man, I don't like ESPN. You know, as far as I'm concerned, ESPN could kick rocks. Like I said, if it wouldn't be
Right.
for them covering, you know, the NBA and college football and even some of these you know, black college games that I watch, you know, HBCU games. Because it was up to me, all the HBCU games would be on, you know,
HBCU go.
HBCU Go, or to be on you know, SWAT TV. It'll be on some type of HBCU platform. Like they wouldn't give ESPN no shine in terms of, you know, ESPNU, you know, ESPN2, ESPN3. All these BCUs would boycott them too if it was up to me. But at the end of the day, that's just my humble opinion.
Facts, man. And Grown with Soul, what's going on, man? He said, salute, salute, great brothers. Appreciate you,
Salute,
man.
bro. Salute.
Like I said, speaking of doing your own stuff, um, especially with this food that's in these stores nowadays is not healthy, especially with the chemicals and stuff like that. So this brother right here, Growing with Soul, he can teach you how to grow your own garden. Check out his YouTube channel and please subscribe and support. It's dope stuff. And Bolton said, I will say this. I did not like Ryan Clark crying publicly for getting fired. But he didn't. He did it on his platform, and he will monetize it because people will stop watching ESPN and choose a Pivot Podcast. Hell, I wouldn't even be mad if he did that shit on purpose. That shit a smart move. But anyway, no, but seriously, yeah, man, that's the thing right there, man. Just like I said, they sitting on a gold mine as far as with the Pivot Podcast. And when they broke away from Brandon Marshall, they never looked back. And this same instance, they need to do the same thing. Or when it comes to Ryan, never look back. Keep growing your own platform, brother. But Big Joe, you still there? Can you hear me?
Lighting up like a damn Christmas tree, man. My bad.
No, you good, bro. So what was your opinion on Ryan Clark and the other brothers that worked at ESPN getting fired?
Oh, I'm not surprised at all, especially the climate that we live in. You know, a certain group of people feel like they're the ones who have been stigmatized, they have been cast out or whatnot. So, you know, so when you own your own business, you can hire and fire whoever the hell you want. That's why it's important to always have ownership. So, you know, the ESPN is starting to look like the Los Angeles Lakers, looking very pale ale over there. You know, so and ESPN is supporting a lot of podcasters. You know, they're supporting Bussin' with the Boys, and they're supporting guys like the frat boy, the Pat McAfee. You know, so they support them kind of channels. They just don't support like the Pivot podcast, and they don't support, brothers like that. So it's not surprising at all. They fired a lot of OG ESPN guys who've been there forever. So they're turning it into, how they want. ESPN is owned by Disney. So Disney supports who's in charge of the current administration of the president. So, this is what it's looking like. So it's a good thing Ryan has the Pivot podcast. It's a good thing that Cam Newton has his own show. So again, this is when the conversation of nepotism, the conversation of not being apologetic. A lot
Yes.
of people. I'm not saying this is Ryan Clark. A lot of people are afraid to be unapologetically black. Well, if it's on air or off air, and you can tell with these people, they're not scared to be apologetically white based on who they're hiring, who they're firing, and how they're conducting their show. I remember on ESPN, you couldn't even cuss, you couldn't do anything. And now we have somebody on there who's drinking, shotgunning beers, and cussing and whatnot, and they're paying him $60 million a year. So, so ESPN has been a dying breed for a while anyways. Ever since Stuart Scott passed away, ESPN has kind of been going downhill. I haven't watched First Take in a while. The last time I even watched a show like that is when Shannon Sharp was on Undisputed with Skip. But then once that was over with, I don't really even watch ESPN. ESPN's not even on my radar. I watch more of the Nightcap than anything. Nightcap,
Me too.
Nightcap is my ESPN, to be honest. For after games and after fights or whatnot, whether they know they're talking about it or not. Because when it comes to boxing, they don't know much about boxing, but they know football, they know basketball. Especially with Joe Johnson on there. I watch that more than I ever watched ESPN. I haven't watched ESPN in forever. So it's just that's part of our childhood is gone now. I know, remember the olden days and when journalism had integrity and when journalism had a certain criteria. It's not like that anymore. So if you're disgusted by what happened with Ryan Clark and them, support the Pivot podcast, which a lot of people do already. They have great content. They have great
Awesome
interviews.
content.
They literally just interviewed Dana White talking about the Zuffa deal and all that kind of stuff. They have interviewed guys like The Rock before. They have interviewed very high esteemed guests. So support the Pivot podcast. As far as Ryan Clark, folks talking about him crying and whatnot, talking about, well, you was getting paid, you're making X amount of money and this and this and this. What pissed me off is just because you make a lot of money, that doesn't negate what happens at the workplace. Just
Yes.
because somebody pay you $200,000, $300,000 don't mean you need to shut up and be happy with it. You know what I mean? So there's a book called The $1 Million Slave. So you mean you can still make millions of dollars and you still treated less than. So we have an issue in our community where if you make millions of dollars, you can't be oppressed or you can't be hit a glass ceiling because you make some rich amount of money. That's not true. Because the same people, who told Jaylen Brown, we don't have enough money to pay you, they're the same ones who are worth billions of dollars. You know what I mean? So the same ones who tell you that, oh, DEI and this and that and the third, these are the same ones who are getting government contracts, and these are the same ones who are getting kickbacks on the back end and all that kind of stuff. So, no matter if you work at ESPN or no matter if you have a day job, as somebody, who owns multiple businesses, and also works in not a corporate environment, but works in a setting like that, you will get scrutinized and you will get marginalized and you will go through things that is not easy, that is conductive to being a black man in America, but I wouldn't have it no other way. So what you saw with Ryan Clark is somebody who took his job very serious, somebody who was passionate about his job, and the fact that it's how he was treated and how he was released, that's what you saw him pouring out when he was crying. He did everything the right way. He was unapologetically himself. He brought value to ESPN. Ryan Clark is a Super Bowl winning player. He knows the game, like the front and back of his hand, but, they still didn't value him and treat him, how he felt like he should have been treated. And a lot of black folks go with that on a daily basis. So shout out to Ryan Clark. Shout out to the Pivot Podcast. And again, ESPN has been dead. So, they can bust them with the boys and shotgun and beers and all that. That's where they at now. Cool. It's going to go down with the ship.
Facts.
One thing I want you to expound upon a little bit, Big Joe. In our group chat, you was talking about in terms of professionalism and credibility. You know, Ryan Clark, he played for many years in the NFL as a safety, strong safety. Whereas on the flip side, Pat McAfee was a kicker. And when it came to like analysts and breaking down everything, like Ryan Clark was able to break everything down to the molecule. Whereas Pat McAfee, he is like very basic surface level takes. And then in addition to that, in terms of from a professionalism standpoint, the way Ryan Clark dresses compared to the way uh, Pat McAfee dresses. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that from a professionalism standpoint that you brought up in the group chat?
For sure.
Excellent question.
You got somebody like Ryan Clark. He always wears suits. He's buttoned down to the nine. He's very professional on camera. He don't shotgun beers. He don't he shows up on time, never been late, never had a code of conduct issue, never had an off the camera issue. He was a typical, as black folks say, you use some may say he a house Negro because he was too uppity or whatever. Then you get somebody like Pat McAfee. Don't wear a suit. He wear a blazer with a tank top underneath, shotgunning beers, cussing like a sailor on a platform that before you can't even allowed to say damn or hell on ESPN. Now he's MFing this, dropping F-bombs and whatnot, and he gets a big paycheck. So what Ryan Clark is experiencing is that as a black man in America, you have to be 3 times better than your white counterpart to get the same job that they get handed to with no experience at all. That is literally what's going on with any everyday job in America and in the White House. There's people who have no criteria. There's people who have no experience, because with any job you try to get hired for, they harp on was experience and education. Do you have a degree? If you don't, then what kind of experience do you have? Those people can have neither, and they will still be given that job based upon who they are and what they know. And you can have all the experience, you can have all the education, you can be buttoned up to the nine looking with a pristine suit on, and they'll pass you on over somebody who shotguns beer and didn't even win a championship and was an average kicker at that. He's not Janikowski. He's not Vinatieri. Pat McAfee was an average kicker. He didn't play 10, 11 years in the NFL, but hey, it doesn't matter because that's who they handpicked. That's who they admire. That's who they can relate to. When you own a business, it's about who you can relate to. They can relate to a Pat McAfee. They can relate to a Ryan Clark. So it's not about how much you know or how long you played. It's about who they're comfortable with. Hence the NFL, they're not comfortable with having a black person on the team because they can't relate to them.
That was very well said, well
Yes, it
spoken.
was.
And Senior used to say this all the time. He used to say, "Son, you got to be 3 times better than them. You have to be able to fly to get to where they can walk to." And just kind of piggybacking off what you said. I mean, the White House is the perfect example. Barack Obama had to fly to get to where Donald Trump and George W. Bush was able to not even walk. I'm gonna say they were able to crawl and get to the same point where he had to fly to get to that same point. So that was an excellent point you brought up, Big Joe. Well spoken.
Well spoken indeed. And I'll never get to you last, JB. And they both said Pat McAfee just like he doesn't bathe. That's what they was talking. That's what Big Joe and Coach was referring to, like how they dress is, they're not feeling the well dressed, groomed Negro. But what I found interesting is like this the Super Saiyan of Coons, Jason Whitlock.
Scumbag piece of trash. Hey,
Yeah,
knowing him, he probably hang out with Ryan Garcia in his free time if you ask me. So continue, bro.
I would I wouldn't be surprised. But anyway, he's you and we all know Stephen A. Smith is a coon, so I'm not taking up Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith claims he's upset about it, but coon ass Jason Whitlock is trying to flip it and try to say that not like he care about Ryan Clark, that Stephen A. Smith didn't fight for him, didn't say anything, and so and then a whole bunch of coon channels has the same rhetoric that basically, like Big Joe was saying, he got paid and everything's all right now. He got fired. He want to cry about it, or Stephen A. Smith didn't fight for Ryan Clark, or whatever the case may be. I want y'all to not fall for the distractions. This is what coons do. All right. They don't. They're so much of a cowards that they're not going to focus on the real. What's the enemy is the racist white structure in this westernized society or atmosphere that's causing this. Stephen A. Smith is just a pawn. He's just gonna do. He's gonna do whatever he needs to do to survive. He can be a problem, but he ain't the major problem. He is one of the problems, but he's not the major problems. So please do not be careful when you go on YouTube or looking for content and you run across content like Jason Whitlock's. Be careful of not to be knocked off the topic of the issue. It's a distraction, okay?
A red herring.
A red herring, yes. Coons are experts of throwing red herrings. All right. JB.
What's up?
What's your opinion on this, brother?
Man, just know and all the other brothers and yourself did a good job explaining the situation and elaborating and showing and the experience with verbiage. But all I'm gonna say, y'all, all of us, I know Big Joe has his own businesses, and me, you, and Coach, we work a 9 to 5. But one thing you just know, they're similar. No matter how you get your money and what you do, just know the sacrifice comes with standing up for your people. Especially
Yes, sir.
it's going to be sacrifice. Especially if you don't own your own stuff like Joseph Townsend. And he'll tell you even then there's going to be some sacrifice to it. But especially if you own, the same 9 to 5 job that me, you, and Coach are doing, just know when you stand up for your people and speak out, or you're not even just speak out, you're just, sometimes it sounds like that they were too, from just listening to the Pivot podcast and from what Ryan said he heard from the people on the inside, that Ryan being black rubbed the higher ups, the big wigs, wrong.
Yeah, he said a executive never, a big executive that was in charge never liked Ryan or something like that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and Ryan the type of dude where, he's the type of dude, he gonna say what he gonna say, right or wrong, and he gonna stand up for his people. I've seen him stand up when everybody was on, both knees, trying to do, twist, pinky style, Josh Allen, you know what I'm saying, and act like Lamar Jackson is just not in his league, you know what I'm saying, and we gonna, and I know me and you, we gonna next show, because the season is coming up, we gonna come up with our own list when they had Lamar Jackson 69, that's the best, NFL player in the league, which is ridiculous. He said something about it, and the other people said something about it. You know what I'm saying? Some white people said something about it, but Chris Broussard was saying, there's no 69, there's no 68 players that are better than Lamar Jackson. But a lot of people said when he spoke up on that, I guess that rubbed some people wrong. I think he said something. What was he said? Something towards another colleague that offended people,
RG
if I'm
three.
not mistaken. Yes.
What
Talk
was
So
it?
on
What
the
was it,
whole.
Coach? Hold on.
He talked on the whole RG3 situation in terms of subject of black women came up or whatever the case may be, and he was like RG3, you really can't relate to it because both of the women you mad to have been white women. You know what I'm saying? So he
Mm,
spoke out against that, and that's one thing that kind of offended people. That was the main thing Corey Holcomb was talking about, and he was like, even if you take away the RG3 thing, like basically, they feel comfortable around black men like Stephen A. Smith, who's kind of always go along to get along. Dude got on national television and say, hey, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about is how could I make these white bosses some money and I could get some of that. And I'm like, bro, like, why would you get on national TV and say that? Like, Ryan Clark and Stephen A. Smith on opposite ends of the spectrum. Don't get me wrong.
right.
Ryan Clark has had a couple moments where, he tried to be like Stephen A. Smith, but at the end of the day, in his heart of hearts, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. And that really
That's
came.
not who he is.
Yeah, that's not who he is.
That's
He was trying to
and you
spit.
could tell.
Yeah, you can tell.
yeah, Ant Bolton is right. It was something about Peter Schrager as well.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. I remember what he said about RG3, but I think what basically gave them the excuse to pull the trigger is what he said to Peter Straker. Now, I like you, Coach, and the other brothers. I don't be on. I don't watch the first takes and the get up and stuff
I,
unless it comes to me on like a clip on YouTube or something. But
that's pretty much how I consume anything ESPN related. Is I might media for another show, or mostly on like Instagram or something like that. Because from what I'm understanding, they'll give you a copyright strike if you put it on YouTube.
yeah, man, and I just think that just know, and Jared said this eloquently. When you own these people's job, and I believe you had a black man's perspective. You, Jared, you, Jared, 78, and Coach had a episode of Black Man's Perspective about when you own these jobs, do your work, get your check, go home. Don't try to be don't try to be no revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to be Malcolm X. Don't try to be Martin Luther King. Get your check, go home. You see what I'm saying? For the most part. Now, there's going to be some situations like I have
You're
been
gonna have to stand up. Yeah.
in. You're going to have to stand up for yourself. Where you're going to say no, enough is enough and, you know what I'm saying, and stand your ground. But other than that, don't be trying to be those people friends. You know what I'm saying? I know everybody had that, white coworker that you had to force laugh and laugh at their corny ass jokes. And you know what I'm saying? But other than that, if it don't cause you to be a revolutionary, don't do it. And I think Ryan Clark knows now. If he ever been in that position again, if he wants change in the black community, right? Just pour into the Pivot podcast. Shows like the Raw Room, a nightcap, stuff like that, man. Uh, if you own somebody else's show, right, that you're not in total control of, you know what I'm saying? You can debate, and especially if you disagree with especially with the law, Lamar Jackson situation and stuff, you can have your opinion, but just know that is their platform. You know what I'm saying? And if you sign a contract with them, and Big Joe said this wonderfully in past episodes, if you sign with a team, if you're a member of NFL, it's in the contract for you to do certain things. For them to pay you 30, 20 to $10 million, you have to do certain things. You see what I'm saying? So um, that's not the time to be Nat Turner. Once they pay you and when you off the clock, you know what I'm saying? Like Coach just said, if something happens in your community, and if you want to, and like that book foolishness with the Asian shop owner who shot the young man in the back,
Deleted, yeah.
and yes, and like um, Coach said, his decision was to not support Asian businesses. That's how you change, not picking a fight with the bosses that you would get your income with. Now, if they're doing some BS, then fine. Just all I know is make sure you got a backup plan. And sometimes you don't have to have you don't have a backup plan. You have to go out on faith,
Facts.
which is another show. But just to wrap it up, brother Brian Clark is gonna be fine. He's done well with his money. He's moved well. He's very knowledgeable about football. He can debate anybody. He has a great show, Pivot Podcast, and I think he has a contract with uh another. He does have another show. He goes on. I think it's on HBO or something like that. Where it's him, um the dude that go boom and whoop and all that. What's his name? Chris Berman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think he has another show, and I think him and DC had another show, but I don't know if they still doing it. But I don't know. But yeah, so he still has money coming in, so the brother will be alright. You know, this is just the experience that every black person got to go through.
Facts.
Where you realize that even if, and I'm gonna add this to the other brothers, and I'm gonna land it here. Even if you are 3 times, 5 times better than them, it may still not be enough because they still gonna put in people in that position that they want.
Point blank, period.
Yes.
And my brother, lunch break hot take. Jose, what's going on, man? My Baltimore Ravens brother, and then Brodney over there representing the Carolina Panthers. Great content over there. Appreciate it. Make sure y'all support. Thank you for coming by, brother. Appreciate the support, man.
And just to kind of like complete this topic or whatever, we really we always push black entrepreneurship here on this channel. We push powernomics in terms of black people supporting black owned businesses, so on and so forth. And more than anything, we got to stick together. Jared and I, we kind of talked about behind the scenes how, we gonna, do something from a personal endeavor of ours in terms of, starting our own black businesses. And more than anything, we promote black entrepreneurship or whatever. I got a couple other things I'm working on, in terms of owning my own business because, you know, like JB was saying, you know, they could let you go at any point and you got to have a black backup plan. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. And Bolton said, also Ryan Clark's comment about Kyron Lacey and him telling black set players to boycott and play and play for HBCUs for the voter restriction issues in black communities.
Yeah, I mean, you and I,
appreciate you as well.
You know, we talked about that on HBCU Fanatics. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
and that's one thing they don't like. That's the real root of it. They don't like black people being not only like educated, extremely intelligent, well spoken, but they don't like you being, you know, boisterous when it comes to these certain racial issues and racial topics, whatever the case may be. That's why, you know, I look at people that even try to get on ESPN. Like if you're a former professional athlete, you got millions of dollars in the bank, and you are famous, rich and famous. As far as I'm concerned, you can start your own platform. You know what I'm saying? That's why when people was talking about the whole Gilbert Arenas versus Kwame Brown thing, I was more on Kwame Brown's side. Like, you know, why you need to like partner up with these people and let them benefit off your name, image, and likeness. To me, if you're rich and famous, you kind of do your own thing, you know?
Yeah, man. And I appreciate you too, Jose. But to Ant Bolton and Coach and JB's point, which may have been the final straw with the Peter Schrager situation, Ryan. And fair use YouTube, and this is from Law Nation Sports. I believe he's a Cowboys fan. So if you're a Cowboys fan, make sure y'all you know you go over there, subscribe and support. But let me subscribe as well. But just supporting black business. But let me know if y'all can hear it.
This morning, are you feeling okay? You look at AJ Brown, which is this number one wide receiver who got one target all night, and then you got CeeDee Lamb.
But that's the
when was the one target?
That's the target.
But
though.
I'm saying
when was the one target?
I'm saying you could have it both ways.
54 seconds left in the game on 2nd and 11. It was the one target. He runs the out route.
You wake up this morning saying
got
AJ Brown had a better day than CeeDee Lamb.
But you know what you wake up saying though? AJ Brown's team is 1-0.
Of course,
right? Like that's what
I get it.
But the thing is this though, and we shouldn't do this on TV. And so I apologize if people think this is rude. That's the non-player.
Oh,
view.
Stop. That's CeeDee Lamb is
let me tell you why. I'm not looking at fantasy football.
Ryan, I'm not. Don't belittle me like that. I could come in and say, as 3 ex-players are saying one thing and give an alternative perspective that maybe CeeDee Lamb did play well. And
Peter, what I need for you to do is not get mad and let me finish for one.
Okay, go on.
It wasn't about you. It was going to be about me.
Okay.
As a player, I can't speak for CeeDee Lamb. I'm speaking.
This morning, are you feeling
okay? And that's where it's a short. So that was the last straw.
I mean, hey man.
I won't, if Peter got his feelings hurt about that, it was the truth. You ain't played it down in the NFL. So you may have studied the sport and have a little knowledge about it where you're able to get a job. But you ain't nothing like a Cam Newton as far as experience. You ain't nothing like a Ryan Clark or Cam Newton, Bart Scott, so on and so forth. So, that was nothing to get offended by. He said belittle. No, that's not really. He was just saying facts.
It doesn't matter. I'm gonna cut y'all off.
Yeah.
Here.
Go ahead.
It don't matter what you do or what you say. You can be the ugliest Negro or the most revolutionary person. If they want you gone, your ass is gone. They'll find an excuse. They'll find an excuse to fire. It's like, they find an excuse to execute it, to execute us in the street. It don't matter.
That's my point.
There's no
Like, that was
there,
bullshit. What we
is
just
no
saw is
there is no
bullshit.
rule. There is no rules to play by. You can play by the rules. You can do code of conduct. You can be the most upstanding citizen. It doesn't matter.
Facts.
They will find a reason to get you out of there. People, look at the landscape of America. I'm going to point again. Look who's in the White House. It does not matter. They will bend rules. They will find ways to make things suit them and to make things work for them. Even if it means taking a loss, they don't care. ESPN doesn't care if they fire Ryan Clark. They don't care. Hell, the NFL don't even care about Brian Flores still going through with the discrimination lawsuit. He's still going through that. It doesn't matter. As long as whoever they want is there, they will take the loss. They will follow blind by whoever. It doesn't matter. People, it doesn't matter your education. It doesn't matter your experience. It doesn't matter what you wear. It doesn't matter how you do your hair. It doesn't matter how you talk. They want your ass gone, though. They'll fire your ass in a heartbeat, and they will replace you with a Pat McAfee.
Or Peter Schrager. Yep.
They will replace you with a Skip Bayless, who has zero playing experience, who has degraded Shannon Sharp way worse than Ryan Clark did that dude in that video. It's not even close.
Oh, you must have read my mind, Big Joe.
It's not even close.
Oh, my mom, I was thinking the same thing. All three of them.
So folks say, "Oh, this is the reason why." Okay, sound good. There's folks who've been fired at their job for something that's over of $1.50. Oh, you got this cookie and you ain't paid for it. We firing you. You've been there for 20 years. It don't matter. Don't matter. I've been there. It don't matter. So the most important thing is be your damn self. Whether they like you or not, be your damn self. We all gotta make a living. We all need a job and all that kind of stuff. So with everything going on now, that's why I get sick of these unscrupulous Negroes out here talking about, well, if this was in slavery, I wouldn't. Well, guess what? We not in slavery and y'all still acting like monkeys. Still too scared to say anything or do anything. So what they gonna do when they start beating your back and putting chains on you? Guess what? What you gonna do? You gonna get on your knees and fix it like a good boy. And speaking on Jason Whitlock, I know Negroes I'm sorry, relax. I know brothers who worked with Jason Whitlock. I know all the stories behind the scenes about what he done, who he is as a person. Jason Whitlock is nothing but William O'Neal on a podcast. He's doing the bidding of them folk. Folk don't even like him, don't care nothing about him, but he's still doing the bidding because he wants to be accepted by them no matter how much they kick him in the butt or pat him on the head or spit on him. He don't care. When they tell him to get on his knees and fix it, he gonna fix it. Because that's all the issues he got within himself. So if y'all know who William O'Neal is, then y'all know the story of the Black Panther Party. Y'all know the story of Fred Hampton. He's William O'Neal. So we want to move. So if we want to move forward as a people, if y'all tired of the Jason Whitlocks and all that kind of stuff, stop giving him attention. So everybody gets sick. Everybody gets sick and tired. Everybody want to say, well, again, if I was back in the day, I would have been a revolutionary. Okay, that sounds great. That sounds great till the time to pick up them sticks and pick up them pistols and the light stuff on fire. Because in the Haitian Revolution, they did one thing that everybody else is afraid to do. The first thing they did was cull their weakness. Y'all know what culling is, right? So culling means you got to get rid of something for it to grow. So to cull their weakness, they got rid of all the house Negroes. All the house Negroes got called off first. I'm trying to stop. I don't want to use anything else on here, another language, but they called them first. So that way they went and run and tell on Massa what their plans are going to do. So the person you call might have to be your brother, might have to be your sister, might have to be your cousin, might have to be your best friend. So for the sake of freedom and for the sake of, being a revolutionary, are you willing to do that for you to be free? That's the whole point of a revolution, is to be free. You're sick and tired, you want to be free. Are you willing to call your brother, your blood brother, for the sake of the freedom of your people? If you're not willing to make that sacrifice, then shut your ass up when it comes to wanting to be independent, because you're not ready. So when it comes to owning your own business, you might have to fire your brother. You might have to fire your cousin. You might have to get somebody else to do the job that they can't do. If you ain't ready to do that, I don't want to hear nothing about no independence, wanting to be free. Because when you're trying to be free, when you're trying to be independent, you have to make tough decisions. You're going to have sleepless nights. You're going to have to do things that is uncalled for. But guess what? They do 3 times worse. And that's why they have the treasures that they have. And I'll stop right there.
Hope y'all heard that. I really hope y'all heard that. But yeah, like I said, all the stuff that's trying to deter you from the main thing is a distraction. The main thing is we need to unite, like Big Joe just said. And if you're not willing to do that, to do the things to like in this particular conversation, we're talking about your own business. If you're not willing to cut off the people who own the black business, to be Pacific, you're not willing to cut off the people probably in your own family that's going to deter you from doing that, just shut up talking about it. Just work your 9 to 5 and deal with the current climate that these 9 to 5s have today.
Get your check and go home.
Let me add something real quick. Let me wrap it up for y'all. Let me give y'all a nice bow on this. What I'm about to say does not reflect the business of Old Hillside Bourbon Company. I'm sharing the experience that I had. When I do tastings, I do tastings for everybody. I don't just do black only events. Where I live at in the Bay Areas, it's multicultural. I do tastings. I'm around Asians, white people, Indians, Mexicans, Hondurans, Polynesians, whatever. Depending on who I'm talking to, I'm not going to pitch that the company is black owned. Because for some people, that's a deterrent. For some people, if you say, hey, Old Hillside, black owned, veteran after that, they're not going to listen to anything else you're trying to say. They don't care how good it tastes. They don't care if it's the best whiskey on the market. Because you said it's black owned, they're not going to support it. I have seen it firsthand. I've said, hey, this Old Hillside Bourbon, veteran-owned company, They look at the bottle, they see all the black faces on it. You know, all the black history on the bottle. Oh, is this a black-owned company? Yep. Yes, sir, it sure is. Oh, okay, all right. Put the bottle down, walk right the fuck off. So I'm outside. This ain't none. I ain't no keyboard Negro. I'm outside. I see it every day. You dig what I'm saying?
They think you playing.
So, I mean, this is what it is in real life. I'll give you another example. I own another business. I have a vendor, white dude. Could be considered racist. Could be considered, whatever. But if I need something, he has it at a good price and he'll get it to me in 30 minutes. Or if I wait and try to do it, if I wait and try to go another route, I might have to wait till tomorrow and it might be a little more, but I might lose out on the customer that's right in front of me. So these are decisions you have to make in business. Do I quote unquote feed this guy's family for the sake of me saving a customer so that way he can keep coming to me repeatedly? Or do I say, oh man, and then I wait till tomorrow to get what I need from another vendor and the customer's upset because he needed his car yesterday. Or he needed whatever yesterday. You dig what I'm saying? So that's business. So everything sounds good on social media, but in real life, you have to make decisions on feeding your family. Well, if you own a business or you work a 9 to 5.
And that's a phenomenal point you brought up, Big Joe. And this is the thing about it.
Yes, sir.
Even people that got what we call FU money, right? They so rich, it don't matter. If they go outside today or tomorrow and they say something extremely offensive to people of a lighter hue, another persuasion, even with that FU money, guess what? All of that FU money could evaporate tomorrow. So at the end of the day, are you gonna stand on your feet or are you gonna live on your knees? Because you got a lot of professional athletes that might be worth hundreds of millions, maybe even worth $1 billion or even over $1 billion. And guess what? They say the wrong thing and they get canceled tomorrow. So don't get it twisted. Everything we saying, it don't just apply to these 4 people on the panel. You could think of your richest, most famous, most popular black professional athlete. And if he said the wrong thing, he offended the wrong people, he getting canceled tomorrow. Bottom line, guaranteed, no questions asked.
Facts, man. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode, man. I really enjoyed it. Just talk about sports and then talk about the tough topics that's associated with sports. But we got more coming. Friday we're gonna have to do a show with the top 20. What? I want to do top 10 head coaches.
I'll say top 25.
Top 25. Okay.
NFL or
NFL currently. And then we're gonna do players. We can do top 15. Okay. We'll talk about it behind the scenes. But yeah, we got more content coming for y'all, man. Just continue support. But Big Joe, let everybody know where they can meet you and see you, man.
Yes, sir. You can catch me on all LWC platforms, showing love to brothers and sisters of the mighty. You dig what I'm saying? I ain't got nothing to sell today. Only thing I got to say is y'all stay safe, y'all stay smart, y'all stay educated, and keep being yourself. Because somebody else is already taken.
Facts. Coach, let everybody know where they can meet you and see you.
You can catch me at Court 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I'm primarily on YouTube. I'm getting ready to start a second YouTube channel, but I had a live stream late last night, almost midnightish. So y'all go over to my channel, check me out. Y'all have a blessed and phenomenal evening. Peace and blessings to the family, you dig?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And JB, I really appreciate taking time out your day to support me and support me behind the scenes, man.
No problem, man. Y'all be easy, bro.
Yes, sir. So this was another installment of the Southern Baller Show. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Y'all be blessed.